Broncos Country, let's Bo. What an incredible start to the preseason for the Broncos, for the fans, for the quarterbacks, and most importantly, Bo Nix. He was outstanding. And I have one thing to say to Sean Payton. After I welcome you into the DNVR Broncos post-game show, Henry Chisholm, Zach Stevens, you here behind the cameras rocking and rolling with you to break down an electric preseason game. And we're here in the Toyota Lounge here inside the DNVR Bar where we had the watch party for this preseason game. And I can't tell you enough, this did not feel like a preseason game. And I don't think Broncos Country feels like this was a preseason game. I think there is so much more hype, excitement, joy, enthusiasm for this game and moving forward. And Henry thinks I'm crazy, but I'm just going to dive into it right now. Bo Nix is the starting quarterback of your Denver Broncos week 1, without a doubt. He was incredible today. The stats were amazing. 15 of 21, 125 yards, 1 touchdown, 102 passer rating. Scored on every single possession outside of a Lucas Kroll touchdown. And I think the eye test, or outside of a Lucas Kroll interception, and I think the eye test was even better for Bo Nix. He is without a doubt the Broncos starting quarterback. So here's my message to Sean Payton. Name Bo Nix the starting quarterback now, tomorrow, before the Broncos' next practice on Wednesday. Henry, you're laughing at me for all this excitement and enthusiasm.
I know. I've just never seen somebody so excited about a preseason game. Yeah, I mean, to me, there's just no rush to do it. I thought Jarrett Stidham played pretty well too. I think obviously Bo had a great day. I just think that, you give Stidham his day with the starters, Bo the day with the twos. Next week you flip it, and as long as nothing crazy happens, I'm Bo certainly on track to be the starter. So I don't need to see it happen right away, but yeah, I mean, obviously a great day.
I mean, there's a statue outside Lucas Oil Stadium for Peyton Manning. The Broncos might as well build one for Bo Nix. If you just want me to go even further with that. But you're right. I mean, I was so impressed with all 3 quarterbacks today, Henry. And the stats were amazing for Zach Wilson, for Bo Nix. Jarrett Stidham's stats were pretty poor, but he passed the eye test in flying colors. We'll break down Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham. But it doesn't matter what these other quarterbacks did. As long as Bo Nix went out there and did his thing, this is all about him. This is not a fair competition when it comes to who the Broncos starting quarterback is. One guy has such a lead before the race even starts, and as long as he doesn't fumble, throw picks, just completely drop the ball, he's going to be the starting quarterback. And of course, that's Bo Nix. And not only did he not fumble, throw picks, look confused, look lost, he looked great. He looked like the number 1 guy for the Broncos. And honestly, I think you can take it even further and say that he looks like he's going to have a very good rookie season. But you don't have to get ahead of yourself with that right now if you don't want to. And I know, Hank, you want to kind of pull me back, bring me back in right now. So then let's just talk about what this means. Bo Nix has been good enough in training camp where I think this game names him the starter. So when you say, Henry, and I want to get into this conversation because you say, whoa, slow it down. You don't need to do that yet. Jarrett Stidham was good as well. When are you saying that Sean should name a quarterback now? You still think you wait until next week and Bo gets his start?
I think you just let the process play out. But yeah, what I saw from Bo was Oregon Bo Nix. Like, it's pretty crazy. They asked him to do the exact same thing that he did in college.
It's not crazy.
I mean, a little bit, because you just don't see those college offenses running the NFL's offense.
That's great coaching, though.
In a way. I mean, certainly. But at the same time, like, you see the offense change from when it's Jarrett Stidham's offense to Bo Nix's offense.
That's great coaching.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a reason why teams don't just run RPOs. You know, the funny thing is, so during the draft process, it was actually Andre Simone who first said it. The comp for Bo Nix is a Jalen Hurts with a little bit less of an arm and a little bit, maybe not quite as good of an athlete. And so what do they do up there in Philly? It's that RPO offense where you get the ball to the playmakers. And again, like that's exactly what they did. And I think at every level, this was Oregon Bo Nix. You look down at the end of the day and see 15 for 21, and you're like, 15 for 21? Like that felt more like it was like 10 for like 15, you know? But those completions, when they're so short, they just add up and add up and add up. And again, it's awesome execution by him. I'm curious to see in the long run how this offense develops because, again, very RPO heavy. You saw the touchdown being the great example. You have Marvin Mims come in motion. You have the pick. You have or maybe not pick, pretty close to a pick with the slant, and then with him coming in behind. And so it's just this simple read right off the bat where you say, do I want to get this to Marvin? Is he going to have an angle? And if not, you just hand the ball off. And it makes the offense so simple and even more simple when this is what you've been running for the past 2 years. And it just made Bo so comfortable, and it was very obvious. Again, well, we can get into like the couple little details you'd like to clean up later. But again, like that's my big takeaway is they kind of just copy and pasted the Oregon offense in a lot of ways, other than adding in some more under center runs. And you'd like to see maybe a little bit more of an under center passing game develop. But I think that was my biggest takeaway is, again, this is something we said during the draft process too, where it's like you can nitpick all these guys, whether it's the ceiling or the arm strength or whatever, but if you needed to go win a football game tomorrow and you had to pick one of those 6 first-rounders to be your quarterback, Bo Nix is probably like the second guy you'd choose after Caleb Williams because you know the blueprint. And that blueprint is that RPO offense, and then, you know, you can tweak it up, like throw in the play-action bootlegs, get him on the run a little bit. But to see the Broncos lean in that far, again, this wasn't a Sean Payton offense, but it makes you wonder if the past Sean Payton offense was more of the Drew Brees offense, and this is the Bo Nix offense, and Sean Payton's just going to do what Bo has done. And again, you'd think, 3, 4, 5 years from now, this is different, but that's what happens with young quarterbacks. You know, Patrick Mahomes doesn't run as many of the RPOs. Lamar Jackson is now throwing more from the pocket, but we saw the blueprint. We saw the full blueprint for what this offense looks like under Bo Nix, and I think that obviously the results were incredible.
Well, I thought I went far, but you just took it further, putting him in the conversation with Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. I absolutely love it, Henry.
No, it's fun.
And with that, though, that is great coaching. That is what you do for the players you have. And time again, since Peyton Manning left, we have seen coaches come in here and say, you're running my offense. You're a passing quarterback. I'm going to make you run. You're a running quarterback. I'm going to make you pass. And it just doesn't make sense. And Sean Payton catered it to Bo Nix. And I think this is 100% sustainable because you say they brought the Oregon offense into Indianapolis for this Denver game. You know what Bo Nix did in that Oregon offense? 4,500 passing yards, set a college completion percentage record
and what was that
of
number?
over 77%.
Was it that high?
Completion, 77.8% completion.
So he only had 71 today. I thought we might get it right on the money.
As a rookie, I'll let him slide on the 71%. 44 touchdowns, 3 interceptions that senior season. Obviously, I'm not saying that's going to translate 1 for 1, but what I saw today was Bo Nix is 100% comfortable, and Sean Payton is 100% comfortable with Bo Nix being the starter. Because remember, this wasn't just all against backups. This wasn't just in the second half where he did this. Bo Nix came in on the final series with the starting offense. Jarrett Stidham got the first 2. Then Bo Nix came in, and he was playing with the Broncos starting offense, the Broncos starting receivers, Broncos starting running backs, and tight ends. And Bo Nix should have had 2 touchdowns on the day. He did go deep. He went deep to Josh Reynolds in the end zone. The commentators are saying maybe there's a little PI there. I don't care. That ball went right through Josh Reynolds' hands. I like Josh Reynolds as a player. He's had a great training camp. He has to catch that. That's not a pass that Courtland Sutton catches. That's a pass that every single receiver on this Broncos team should catch. Bo Nix should have had 2 touchdowns on the day, including, what would that have been, a 20, 25-yard touchdown? A perfect ball thrown there. So Bo Nix's day was even better than the stats indicate. And Henry, one of the things that we said before this game that we wanted to see was Bo Nix look comfortable, look confident, look like he wasn't rattled by the pressure or the defense or what Sean Payton was throwing into the huddle, and he did not. The Broncos didn't have a pre-snap penalty, or that was caused by him, I should say. The Broncos didn't have to cause or call a timeout because something went wrong. Now, there were a couple of things that you want to see cleaned up, and we'll talk about those in a second, but for a rookie's preseason debut, it couldn't realistically have gone any better.
Yeah, no, definitely. Again, like we'll get to our scores in a bit. A really great day. And honestly, when you go through the complaints about the day, it's almost even more encouraging that you still see some of these like little rookie mistakes, and he finishes 15 for 21 with all the numbers they finished with. Like, it's a very good day, but you go back to those first 2 throws. I mean, what were you thinking after those? You're thinking, oh boy, this is going to be rough. The second one being the one that Greg Dulcich almost got to, the defender almost got to. And I think that was just maybe a little bit of nerves. How could you not have nerves when you step up into this situation?
And then also, like you said, how could you not be a little nervous as a Broncos fan after the first 2 plays? You've seen nothing else, and you see a near interception. I mean, the Colts could have easily picked that off, got his hands on it, jumped the route, and then a pass that was not thrown well from Bo. So then if you want to flip that to the positivity side, you say Bo went 15 of 19 on his final passes after kind of the nerves settled down. So let's go through Bo's game more specifically after I give a shout out to our friends over at Toyota, where if you want to drive to the Broncos game next week to see Bo Nix start and to see Bo Nix make his debut in Denver, you got to get a Toyota from your Front Range Toyota stores, whether it's a Supra. Henry, did I tell you I saw a Supra in the mall parking lot? It was a yellow Supra. Looked like a Ferrari Lamborghini, like from far away. And I got close and I was like, oh, damn, that's the Supra. Yeah. This was a couple weeks ago. I don't know what I was doing. Probably returning something for my wife or something like that.
Oh, boy, you have to do that?
I don't shop at malls.
Yeah, neither do I.
But there's a lot of Toyotas there. And then, of course, if you want like an SUV, they've got the Grand Highlander. They've got the trucks. They've been in the truck game for a long time. The Tundra iForce Max hybrid truck, with just the hybrid part provides even more power. They've got all different types of cars over at Toyota. So visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Courtland Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR.
Also, check out Bet365. Let me double check. I should know these odds.
What, Bo Nix Rookie of the Year? Bo Nix MVP? Bronco? Where are you going?
Williams
Bo?
Is that
what you said?
Caleb Williams looked pretty good too. When the Broncos went down 3-0, I decided to hop on. Grabbed him at plus 130 to win. Couple maybe a little sketchy moments. Those damn fumbles sure didn't make me feel good. But yeah, got a nice win to start my weekend. And now I'm betting the Rockies come back, so goodbye to all that money. That's why, though, if you want to join Bet365, it's a lot of fun because the Broncos are going to be underdogs in a lot of games this year. If you want that Bo Nix Rookie of the Year, I think they've still got that boosted from like plus 1,600 to plus 1,800. I doubt they're dropping the lines after a preseason game, but you never know. So maybe you jump in by pretty quick. If you use the code,
I'd put it like 250 right now.
250,
yeah, plus 250 for him to win Rookie of the Year.
Made some throws too. But yeah, Bo Nix, awesome day. DNVR 365 is the code when you sign up. You can deposit $10. Choose between either a bet and get offer. Place about $5 or more, get $150 in bonus bets. A first bet safety net offer where you place about up to $1,000, and if that qualifying bet loses, you receive a match refund in bonus bets. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or somebody you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
Henry, if you want to bet Bo Nix Rookie of the Year, they'll give you a bonus bet over at Bet365.
Really?
I don't know, but they're boosting it. So it's pretty much a bonus odds over at Bet365. All right, so you talk about those first 2 passes.
Yep.
Little nerves coming in. And then what does he do on the very next pass? He rolls he rolls left and throws an absolute laser to Courtland Sutton, who's in great position, knees and feet inbounds, catches it, and you're like, okay, let's see what happens. And then he just keeps going after that, outside of a fumbled snap. And that one was on Bo. I think he just took off right before he was thinking about other things to happen before he was able to get his hands on it, was able to fall on it. But then he goes down and gets a field goal on that very first drive.
Yeah, so the fumbled snap is one of those things that makes my list of, again, it's a great day, but there are these little pieces you clean up. You can't be surprised it happened. I think he took 8 snaps from under center. I can't remember if that was last year or his entire college career. Hopefully that was just last year. But very, very, very little experience playing under center. And again, it's one of those pieces of this fit that gives you questions, because when you spend so much money on the offensive line, you feel like your running backs maybe are a little bit better than your receivers. You want to run the ball a lot, and if you want to run the ball, you want to play from under center. So again, it's early on. You expect a couple of hiccups, but by the regular season, you hope that those things go away.
Yeah, 100%. You hope those go away, and then then he hits Josh Reynolds on a first down. Then that's when that bobbled snap comes in. And then this is when the perfect pass was thrown to Josh Reynolds in the end zone. Goes just not even through his fingertips, just straight through his hands in the corner of the end zone. Josh has to come down with that, or else you're going to be seeing other receivers out there if he can't come down with those passes. So Bo should have had a touchdown there. Then the next play is a screen that's dropped by Jaleel. Now, Henry, you maybe had an issue with Bo on this play.
You don't got to throw it 100 miles an hour to a guy who's 5 feet away. I think that's that's just like one of those rookie mistakes where I think Justin Jefferson was talking about that this week, where somebody was like, what's the difference between catching a ball from Sam Darnold versus J.J. McCarthy? It's like, well, J.J. McCarthy throws it as hard as he can every time. Sam Darnold will sometimes make it a little bit easier if you're trying to catch it on the run and you're open. And I think that's a strength actually for Bo Nix compared to other rookie quarterbacks. He has good touch. He generally knows when to use it. But again, first game, pressure bearing down on you. Maybe just a little bit quick to decide to just blast this one as hard as you can. And again, like if it hits you in the chest, you should still catch it even if you're right next to him. But if you make things easy for your receivers, then you're more likely to have those catches anyway.
Sure, and like on a crosser, when there's no one around, you don't need to dart it in. You can lay it up. But I actually think on a screen like that, when the defense is coming in like that, you don't want to lob it up to then let the defenders have more time to get there. So I didn't mind it at all. I put that 100% on Jaleel. But I see where you're coming from. I just disagree with that. So Broncos get a field goal with the starters. Then next drive for Bo, it's the backups. He's in with the backup offensive line, backup receivers for the most part, tight ends and running backs. I loved what Bo did on this one. On third down, he just runs for the first down. And we really got to see his speed today. And this one was not a designed run, but he just took off, got the first down, really liked that. And then we continue to see Bo and Sean not just do RPOs, but actually do just straight read options, where it's you're either handing this off or you're running with this. And I loved it. And Bo kept it 2 times, got big plays, I think, on both times. And that was the very next play. After he ran for it, he had a designed run, picks up the first down, great read, and then that touchdown to Marvin Mims. You talked about it earlier, how that was an RPO. And Bo just made it. I love it because there's 3 different things he can do there in the red zone, so it doesn't put him in a hole. He's not in a bad position where he has to force a pass, but he made the right read, threw an absolute laser to Marvin on a throw that could have been like pick 6. Not that throw, but like that's kind of a dangerous throw, a pass to make sometimes because of how tight quarters. And if the defense gets it, that's going 6 the other way. But he put some juice on that to get it in the end zone.
Definitely. No, did what you're supposed to do there. Again, like you make it simple for your quarterback. You let him kind of read pre-snap whether he thinks he has leverage there, and right away he was able to tell he would just bang. Just those RPOs, read options. I wouldn't be surprised if that's half the Broncos offense out of the gate if Bo Nix is the starter, because it limits what can go wrong.
Yep.
You're setting him up for success.
Exactly. And that's what Sean Payton wants to do. Set up his first-round rookie for success. And then I love what Sean did. He said, okay, Rook, I see what you're doing in these first 2 drives. You get points on both of them. So I'm going to call some timeouts right after the 2-minute warning in order to get the ball back for you. And then what happens? He hits Lucas Kroll, and Kroll fumbles. It's like, no, Bo's done everything for the most part right. But then the Broncos get an interception right after that. Back-to-back turnovers. So then Bo gets another 2-minute situation. And I just love the way he handled it, especially how he started the drive. Back-to-back throws to the guy that just fumbled to say,
if they leave him open.
Exactly. But some quarterbacks might say, no, I don't trust you. And he went right back to Lucas Kroll, and credit to Lucas Kroll, 2 big plays where he's open, then runs downfield. And then I love that he went deep to Devon Vele and drew that pass interference penalty. That doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but what? That was an extra 30, 40 yards that the Broncos got to put them in field goal range before the 2-minute warning. In those situations, we've heard Sean talk about it over the past couple weeks. Sean is looking for points in those situations, not touchdowns. Once you get into field goal range, then you look for a touchdown. But Bo was very successful on that drive, getting the touch or getting the field goal before half.
I think that was 2 drawn pass interferences for Vele, right?
I believe so.
So again, it's one of those little things to go back to the ball when you know there's no chance you're going to get it. But how many times does a quarterback underthrow a deep ball and the cornerback's face guarding the receiver, and you say, "Why didn't you try to go get it? It's an easy pass interference."
Yeah.
So again, you need the 26-year-old rookie to be playing like a veteran if there's going to be any future for him, and he showed that today.
He did. He 100% did. And like you said, Devon Vele, really good game. I was really impressed with him. And then speaking of situational football, then you come out of the first half, out of halftime, and you let Bo Nix start that third quarter. That's exactly what I thought Sean was going to do. But you got to see Bo Nix in so many situations, how he bounces back from the offense making a bad play that wasn't his fault in terms of the Lucas Kroll fumble. You got to see him in the 2-minute drive to end a half. Then you got to see him how he responds coming out of the first half, especially after he had already done enough to really have a great day. And he comes out and leads the Broncos on a touchdown drive, which is capped by Audric Estime running it in. And the pass of the drive for that one was finding Jaleel Mclaughilin wide open for 22 yards to get the Broncos into the red zone.
Yep. And then that was the one where he and Devon Vele were on different pages, trying to get the ball into the end zone there at the end. And I'm not sure how exactly that play is set up, whether it's a pre-snap read or post-snap, but essentially you isolate Vele out there. The play is either to him on a slant or to him on the fade. And what happened was Vele ran the slant and Bo threw the fade, which is dangerous. So I'm not sure if there was a miscommunication before reading the leverage. If that's the kind of stuff that you always hear about with Peyton Manning, where it's like, oh yeah, I had DT out there. I was able to just give him a look and he knew what to do. That's, again, like you have 2 rookies trying to make that play. It just takes time to build that sort of chemistry.
For what it's worth, the broadcast put it on Vele. I don't know what they saw. I wasn't able to hear that, but they did put that on Vele. Who knows if that's actually the case.
They put some,
But Henry, here is why you need Bo Nix to be the starter before the Broncos' next practice on Wednesday, is so that he can get on the same page with Devon Vele, with Courtland Sutton, with Tim Patrick, so that he has all of the reps possible to get on the same page with these guys, so that you don't have these miscommunications because of a lack of reps entering week 1. That's why I think it's so important. You know he's the starter. He's no longer on pace to be the starter. He should be the Denver Broncos starting quarterback, especially after what he did today. End the game. Sean Payton already named Bo the starter for next week. He said that before this game started. Just name him the starter and then get him all the reps for Wednesday's practice, Thursday's practice, but more importantly, Friday's joint practice against the Green Bay Packers, and then Sunday's game against the Packers in Denver. And then you can have Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson battle it out for number 2. In fact, I think there should be a competition for number 2 quarterback on this team now, not the number 1.
The thing about chemistry, though, is they rotate all those receivers through the 1s, the 2s, the 3s, so you can build just as much chemistry with any of them working with any group.
You build more because now you start to narrow that down, and you start to have Courtland work more with the 1s.
Do you know which group who's playing with who, though?
What do you mean?
Like, do you know who your 3 best receivers are?
No, so you rotate them, but you no longer have Michael Bandy and David Sills and those guys that have been good in camp, but you no longer have them rotate with the 1s. So you limit it. It's not. I totally see what you're saying, but you limit it so Bo gets more reps with these guys.
Yeah, you could. Again, you just wind up with so many different receivers out there. I'm not too worried about that aspect. It did remind me, though, Chris Wilson, who is the defensive coordinator at CU, he'd been in the NFL a bunch. That last Eagles Super Bowl with all those big guys in the trenches, he was their defensive line coach. But he coached a lot of football, super smart guy. One of the things that he said was, for every rookie that you start in the NFL, you expect to lose a game because of it. And I think that play with Vele and Nix is just kind of like the definition of, they're just in 2 years, those two on that play might just be unstoppable. Because Vele's so big, because you're isolating him one-on-one, because Bo can put the ball wherever he wants it, but it just takes time to build that.
Yeah, but you know what? The Broncos win total is set at 5.5 this year.
Yeah.
This season's about developing Bo Nix, not going out and trying to win a Super Bowl.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
I'm not saying you should not play them.
Okay.
That'd be crazy.
Okay.
But just like an example of that concept.
Okay. I see what you're saying. So, Henry, let's put a bow on Bo Nix's day today. Give me a grade. And the way we're going to do this, you guys know who have been rocking and rolling with us during training camp. We've been grading all of these three quarterbacks every single day in camp from 0 to 10. But this is a game. This is more important. So we're doubling it for these. Let us know, since everyone was able to watch the game, I want to know what you guys would give Bo Nix out of 20, Jarrett Stidham out of 20, and Zach Wilson out of 20. We're going to give you all of our scores on today's show as well. And how it goes, 0 is the worst possible. 20, you couldn't be any better. It's a perfect score. And 10 is average. So 10 is not a bad score. 10 is an average score. I'm curious, Henry, where did you go with Bo Nix's day today?
We're gonna see. I don't remember what I chose.
Okay, I give Bo.
Oh, there we go.
Hey,
okay.
You gave Bo a 17.5 out of 20.
Yep.
I went with an 18 out of 20. This was Bo's best performance, in my opinion, that we've seen through camp. And obviously, this is the first preseason game, and no better time to come up with your best performance than in the game time. And he is trending in the right direction over these past 2 weeks of camp. And today wasn't just a cherry on top, it was the entire Sunday, to the extent where you've already heard me say it. I think he won the job today and should be named the starting quarterback of this team. Was everything perfect? No, of course not. We talked about the missed throws. We talked about how maybe he should have had an interception on that very first play. We talked about the fumbled snap. But for a rookie making his debut, this was absolutely incredible. So keep hitting us with those scores. A lot of people in the Toyota chat are lower than us. I'm seeing like between 15 and 18 for Bo there. Henry is getting a lot of heat for what he's saying about Bo, and he was at a 17 and a half. So just remember that. I do see Sports Chatter in the Toyota chat saying 19 out of 20. So Henry and I both think it was a tremendous day from Bo Nix. And I think we're going to be giving some other really good grades for these other guys, Henry. But before we do that, we just have to name Bo Nix the UC Health Player of the Game, because he was tremendous. 15 of 21, 125 yards, 1 touchdown. Should have been 2, in my opinion. And this was his first NFL action. Last week, he told us, Henry, that the game was slowing down for him. And I think that was pretty evident, because you said they brought the Oregon offense over to the NFL, and it looked like he was just in the Oregon offense. He looked that comfortable. So that is the UC Health's Live Extraordinary Player of the Game, presented by UC Health. Head to uchealth.org/tomorrow and take care of your mental health today so you can have better tomorrows. And I do want to say that we saw good quarterback play from Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson. Let's dive into both of their games, plus get to some other guys that stood out.
Real quick, we should say, did we ever say that you had an 18 and I had a 17.5?
Yeah.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure for the podcast listeners.
Said it twice. Thank you for listening to me.
The first time you didn't. That's why I was confused.
I said the first time.
No.
And speaking of, want to give a shout out to UC Health. Of course, everyone here knows the Ready, Set, Bo initiative, but they've got the UC Health Ready, Set, Co initiative, with Coach Prime being their chief motivation officer of UC Health's Ready, Set, Co challenge. The goal of this challenge is to get Colorado back to its rightful place as a healthiest state. This year, the chief motivation officer, Coach Prime, is joined by his other personas: Nutrition Prime, Exercise Prime, Sleep Prime, and Mindfulness Prime. Each Prime persona breaks down how to dive into each area of the Ready, Set, Co's mindset. Each of the 5 Primes is here to help motivate, help, and inspire you. All you have to do is join up. So if you want to do this and join in, go to uchealth.org/ready-set-co. That's uchealth.org/ready-set-co. Or you can click the link in our description on the show.
Also, check out Indeed if you're looking for a new job.
Indeed.
I think most people are looking for a new job. That's something like.
Are
not
you like?
me,
I
not
was
me,
gonna
for
say,
example.
are you giving
no, but
me?
you talk to other people. It's like, well, I mean, the next thing is this, the next thing's that, and the next thing's that. Like everybody just seems to have some plan. And Indeed, according to at least their 350 million global monthly visitors, is an awesome program because of their matching engine. It helps match you either with the candidates for the jobs, or if you're trying to hire somebody. Yes, Yaya, do you have a question over there? Oh, hand raise. The hand raise, you just never really know.
Raised,
yeah, I know.
yeah.
I don't know what that's about. But now he's doing a little windmill thing.
I'll just talk. I don't get it.
No, you need to be called in. Called on. But yeah, if you're looking for, I wonder if the Broncos posted the starting quarterback job there.
Oh, right before the draft.
Yeah, if you want to be a starting Broncos quarterback, maybe you could get on there. Maybe you get matched. One of the potential many jobs that Indeed has over there. They leverage over 140 million qualifications and preferences. Again, matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better that it gets. 3.5 million businesses on there. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/allcity. That's all one word, all city. Just go to Indeed.com/allcity right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/allcity. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Indeed, you do, Henry. Let's start with Jarrett Stidham, where the game started. I was incredibly impressed with Jarrett Stidham today. And after he left, I thought, maybe the Broncos are in good hands if Bo needs to sit for a couple of games to start this season. Obviously, that changed after I got to see Bo. But the very first play, I love the play design. Jarrett Stidham rolls out to, I'm talking about pass. The very first play, he rolls out to the right, then looks back to find Courtland Sutton open. It was a great play design because that's how the play was designed. And then also it was a great job by Stidham to find Courtland Sutton there. Then he gets rolling. He hits Tim Patrick for a first down.
Yep.
And then the Broncos go back because Tim Patrick called for taunting, which was pretty soft.
Yeah, and I don't. It's his first catch in 2 years. if he wants to be excited about it, go be excited about it. I feel like as much as Tim Patrick is a good receiver, he's just as important for his energy and the toughness and those sorts of things.
Agreed.
And so, almost in a vacuum, I kind of like the idea of going out there and talking a bunch of shit in the preseason. Like you can't be taking those penalties in the regular season where the games matter, but it certainly sets a tone. Like, and that's the kind of energy you want from this team. Like that whole like young and hungry underdog. If he wants to go out there and say something after his first catch in 2 years, I've got absolutely no problem.
You know who does have a big problem with it though, Henry?
The refs?
Sean Payton.
Oh, I'm sure.
After the game, he was not pleased with the Broncos' turnovers and the Broncos' penalties, and specifically Tim Patrick's penalty, was not pleased with that. And I don't blame Sean. This is a team that has a 5.5 win total. And if you're going to go out there and be an undisciplined team and you're going to get in scoring range on this very first drive, but then have penalties knock you out, so you have to punt, because after that, then what? You get a you get a Mike McGlinchey false start that knocks you back even more. You cannot have that. So the undisciplined part, especially when Jarrett Stidham was playing, it wasn't his fault. Garrett Bowles draws a holding when Stidham's also the quarterback. It's just uncalled for and really bad. You cannot have that. 4 penalties when Jarrett Stidham was in the game, and it wasn't his fault. And speaking of not his fault, Samaje Perine, is he a big Bo Nix guy or something? Because Jarrett Stidham hits Samaje in the hands, and he not only bobbles this, but then just throws the ball in the air for it to be easily picked off.
Yeah, and I don't... Again, he's going to get like an F grade for today because you just can't do that. But big picture, I don't think it really changes anything.
Ooh.
I don't think that he really had anything to prove. I don't think he could go out there and have a great game and help his chances to make the team. I guess if you had this horrible game, then maybe that changes things. To me, though, you know exactly what Samaje Perine is. You've known for years exactly what he is. I don't look at this and say, like, oh, is he not trustworthy? I mean, he was like top 5 in the NFL in receiving yards. Like, whether he makes the team or not, whether he has a role, that has more to do with other guys.
Would agree.
If you go through the whole preseason and he's constantly doing stuff like this, then you're like, okay, maybe maybe his hands just fell off a cliff, which I'm not sure if that's a thing that even happens. But yeah, I think, again, he's just a little overexcited. First game, looked up the field a little too soon. Terrible play. He gets an F for today. It doesn't change my long-term view of him.
Yeah, and when you get an F in a preseason game, I do think, for me, that changes it a little bit. But I do think it's more so, can Audric Estime, can Blake Watson prove enough to the Broncos coaching staff that say, okay, we can move on from this veteran because we know Audric Estime can catch. And Audric Estime had some catches today. Also, though, what's not going to help is fumbling the ball and just letting it get ripped out of your hands by a smaller guy. That can't happen. Blake Watson also fumbled on a very good handoff from Zach Wilson. Those can't happen, but those guys also flashed too. So there was some good and some bad from those guys too. But before we get into other people, Henry, give me a grade for Jarrett Stidham today.
Real quick on those other fumbles. Yeah, so, I mean, and Kroll's in there too. One fumble, it sucks. And again, it's a bad grade for today. The view doesn't change until you do it a second time. Because anybody can fumble once. As soon as you fumble twice, then this is a trend that might need to be addressed. And I'm not sure you can make the team if you fumble twice.
Man, one fumble in 3 preseason games, though, is
definitely
pretty significant.
It's a bad rate, but it's such a fluky thing. Again, it's the trend that would be concerning. But again, certainly F grade because you just can't do that. Yaya's not ready.
Uh-oh. Do you remember your grade?
No, I have no idea.
Yeah, here, we need to pull up our grades for Jarrett Stidham right now.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, Jarrett Stidham went 4 for 7 for, 37 yards, 1 interception, a 32.1 passer rating. You look at the stat sheet and you would say, oh my gosh, he was awful, terrible. Didn't score on any of his drives, but I thought he was way better than the stat sheet. I think he should have at least had one scoring drive that maybe could have even gone for a touchdown. So I went with a 14 out of 20 for Jarrett. I was really impressed, not only with his play, but I was impressed with his composure. And again, for when Jarrett left before we got to see Bo Nix, I thought, maybe the Broncos are going to be in better hands than I was expecting if Bo Nix isn't ready to go to start this season.
Yeah, I think we've seen throughout the training camp. I think his athleticism gets underrated as well. Obviously not as good of an athlete as Bo, but he can move a bit out there, and we saw that on a couple occasions. A couple of really good throws. The slant to Tim Patrick, it's not like this crazy play, but the best part of it is seeing before the snap that this is going to be open, or figuring out what your one simple little read is, putting the ball on the money in a position where he can catch it and then run. That's the classic what you think of as a Sean Payton offense. You just kind of feed these guys on these short passes, and he's really good at that. And it's a shame that he wasn't helped out by the rest of his teammates, but good, solid, clean day. Nothing all that special to me, though.
That's fair. That's totally
10,
fair.
yeah.
Did you think Zach Wilson was special here, Henry? Because his stats, he went 10 of 13, 117 passing yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 103.7 passer rating, the better passer rating than Bo Nix today.
Yeah. No, I had him between Stidham and Bo.
We can just throw out our scores right now if you want.
I'm ready.
Let's throw out our Zach Wilson score. And Henry, between Zach and Bo here, let's see where he falls. Out of 20. You gave
both 15.
We both gave him a 15. How about that?
I mean, it's a very classic Zach Wilson day where, again, like better than you'd expect, but just the difficulty in picking a score. I think day in and day out, he's always the toughest to pick a score just because there are things that he does well, but then you also have like the worst throw of the day, obviously, was that post to Marvin Mims, where if he leads his ridiculously fast receiver downfield, it's a touchdown. Instead, he leaves it short and inside and almost has it picked off.
Yep.
Yeah, we talked about this before the show. It's like a lot of how you grade Zach Wilson is based on, did the defender catch the interception or not? You know? And that's exactly what happened.
Right.
He gave him the chance, he dropped it, and so all of a sudden it's a good day.
Yep.
But how much do you weight that versus pretty consistent play? A couple of really nice plays, or then you even throw stuff in. I think there was like a short throw to Audric Estime where Estime's just sitting there at the sticks. He's sitting and staring at Zach and sitting, and you sit there and think like, throw him the ball, throw him the ball, throw him the ball. And eventually he does throw him the ball and it's completed and they get the game. But by then the linebackers crashed in. It counts as a completion. I think that one moved the sticks, but that's the other piece we've seen with Zach is that the other two quarterbacks just get the ball out so quickly, and Zach Wilson, he sits there and waits and waits. And today was it was obviously better than we've typically seen in training camp.
I agree.
But there's still a couple of those moments where you're like, yep, this counts as a good play. But the process to turn it into a good play maybe wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, that's fair. And I got to say, this was one of the, there were some issues, like you said, with Zach. But this was like the best he's looked.
Definitely.
Throughout all of training camp.
He played him against the threes.
And
he beat him up like he should.
And that's very true. The number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft just a couple of years ago, going up against all backups into the second half, or I guess into the very end of the game. But he still led the team to multiple scoring drives and was able to overcome the Estime strip that went for a touchdown the other way, bounced back with a touchdown there. And I loved a couple of times he manipulated the defense with his eyes, which was awesome. He found 84 in the middle of the field by doing that, by going left and then throwing right. So he was doing some things that really impressed me as well. In that very first drive, 5 for 6, 52 yards, was very efficient. Of course, the one incompletion was the one that you said could have easily been an interception, but I just like the way he bounced back. And Henry, I'm very happy with what Jarrett Stidham did and how he played. But I think we might have a competition for the number 2 spot now. I think Zach, if he continues to build momentum, because much like Bo, Zach has been trending up the past week or so. Bo's been trending up the past 2 weeks in training camp. Zach's been trending up this past week of camp. If he continues to trend this way, I think he could make a play to be the Broncos' backup quarterback, and especially when you take money into account. The Broncos save $5 million by moving on from Jarrett Stidham, or maybe if Jarrett goes out and he plays well and he doesn't have the interception caused by another player on his team, maybe the Broncos could trade him to be a backup somewhere else too. So I think there's more of a competition now. There should be more of a competition now with the number 2 spot than the number 1 spot.
It's just tough to throw out what we've seen from Stidham and Zach Wilson over the past 2.5 weeks. Like, again, very good day for Zach Wilson. Yeah, I saw somebody said, why are we complaining about Zach Wilson? I'm not complaining. He had a really good day. But there were a couple of things that he could have done better. Same thing with Bo Nix. Same thing with Jarrett Stidham. Maybe even Stidham the least of the 3, which is pretty crazy. But, yeah, I mean, to me, you just want Stidham because he looks so sharp. He gets about so quickly. I think he's everything you want in a backup quarterback. I think Zach Wilson might be everything that you want in a project. And
agreed.
If this happens again next week, if Zach Wilson looks awesome again next week, and maybe even Jarrett Stidham has a weak day, then maybe I'll get there. But you probably need Zach Wilson to replicate this in both of the next 2 preseason games to say he's the backup. Now,
I agree.
I also think that Zach Wilson getting a roster spot is now very much more in play today, right now, than it was, 8 hours ago. I had him on the outside looking in, but at this point, he does seem like a valuable project just because after this year, if you can keep him in the building, that lets you let Jarrett Stidham walk, in which case you probably get a 6th-round compensatory pick. And if he gets a little bit more than the $5 million, if he gets a Jacoby Brissett deal, then all of a sudden you're looking at a 5th-round pick. And then you have Zach Wilson in the building. You let him go next year. You get another compensatory pick. I really like this quarterback room if they can keep it together. The big question is just, can you keep it together by leaving Zach Wilson on the practice squad? Can he clear waivers? And if he plays like this, I don't think he can, because you look at all the backup quarterbacks around the league, and there are a lot of teams that could really use an upgrade.
Yeah, without a doubt. And right now, as it stands, yes, Jarrett Stidham is the backup quarterback for the Broncos. I totally agree. But there's still 2 more preseason games at home where Zach Wilson can change that for Sean Payton. We have a lot of people in the Toyota chat asking about injuries. We're going to hit that in just a second because Sean Payton gave us an update after the game. But I want to get to our podium for the Broncos in this game and in the Toyota chat. Let me know if you agree with how we graded these guys. We've got Bo Nix winning the gold medal on the day the Olympics closes out today with the closing ceremony. Zach Wilson, number 2, and Jarrett Stidham, number 3. But again, if you listen to what we talk about, if you read the scores that we put out there, all 3 of these guys had by far above average days. So really, this is probably the best day that Sean Payton could have imagined for these quarterbacks. And if you look at this training camp medal count, might have to adjust a little bit because this game was worth double. Might have to give double points to Bo Nix here. You got a very even competition between Bo and Jarrett Stidham 3 weeks in. But again, to me, throw this out the window when it comes to how I view it. I think Bo Nix has done enough to be named the Denver Broncos starting quarterback now. And because of his big performance, our winner of the week is Bo Nix. I mean, he's just getting all the awards from us. Winner of the week in camp and with obviously this game meaning more. And then, of course, he also won our UC Health Extraordinary Player of the Game. Man, Bo's just winning. It's a good day to be Bo Nix. But it wasn't a good day for a couple of players who had injuries during this game. Art Green suffered a concussion. That was scary. Obviously, Henry, he's just trying to make a play, especially a guy on a bubble. He's trying to make a big hit in the middle of the field and does get that head-to-head contact in the middle of the field. He was flagged for it. Hoping that he's able to return as soon as possible for his sake while also being healthy so he can make a spot on this team. He also had a play where he was in smothering coverage down the left sideline, made a really good play, but hoping that concussion's okay. And then we saw Lucas Kroll carted into the locker room, and probably the quote of the day from Sean Payton came about talking about Lucas Kroll's injury. Kroll has a toe injury. We don't know much more than that, but he was asked, is it serious? Sean Payton was asked, is Lucas Kroll's toe injury serious? And Sean Payton responded by saying, it's a toe.
That's okay, good. That's what I would have said, is like, as long as it's still connected, I don't know how it could be a serious injury.
So I guess if...
Didn't you smash your toes last year and barely could walk?
That was Henry.
I walked.
Barely.
What do you mean barely? That's not barely. You can't barely walk. You either
quite
can
a bit.
walk
You
or
can barely
you can't
walk?
No, you can either walk or you can't. It's a one or the other.
Could you have been able to run every single day for 2 to 3 hours after that?
I broke it in training camp. I was on my feet walking around doing all that stuff.
But I said run.
Sure,
because
yeah.
Lucas
Oh,
Kroll
yeah.
needs to go run. Wow, you're
It's
a tough
just a
guy.
toe.
Okay, well
Yeah.
then
Oh, it's
Lucas.
2 toes actually.
Lucas, the Broncos have 2 days off in terms of being on the practice field until their next practice on Wednesday. You better be Hank tough.
It is a
and
little bit
be
different
out
with the
there
big
on
toe,
Wednesday.
though. I will say, like, if I'd imagine that's what it is. But yeah, if that's like turf toe, it can mess with your balance a little bit. There's no reason not to give him a week off, you know?
Well, is there after his performance today, after that fumble?
Again, one fumble isn't going to get me up in arms. You know how many times Terrell Davis fumbled?
In his career or
Yeah.
in preseason?
In his career.
Probably more than one.
Yeah, I would imagine more than one also.
So Lucas Kroll is Terrell Davis?
No. They aren't even similar. But again, like, everybody is going to fumble if you play football. You just don't want to be somebody who fumbles often. And so far, you've only fumbled once, so you can't count that as often, you know?
Okay, that's
As soon
fair.
as there's a trend, it's concerning, though.
Okay, that's fair.
And like with Blake Watson, who fumbled during camp, that does make today's fumble trigger you a little bit more.
Sure, definitely. Like I said earlier, Sean Payton after the game pointed to the things that he was most upset with was the penalties and the turnovers. Way too many turnovers, way too many penalties. Outside of that, Henry, I was so impressed with this team on offense, and there were still some bright spots on defense. Who do you want to start with giving some credit
Alex
to?
Singleton. I think there's a case to be made that he should have been player of the game. Again, it's tough in a preseason game when you're only out there for a few series, but he was incredible.
He was.
I mean, he's everywhere.
How about that blitz that caused the incompletion?
Yeah. And so that's the first drive, which sets up the 3rd and 7. The next drive, he's in coverage on like the 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 9, makes the tackle short of the sticks. Had tackle for loss after that. There's the whole list. He came back in and was in good coverage, laid like a hit that forced an incompletion on another throw. I can't remember if that one was a 3rd down too. But yeah, he was everywhere. And I think big picture for the Broncos, well, Alex Singleton at worst is your 4th best defender. At worst.
So
And he's
Pat?
probably even better. Yeah, Pat, like, throw Jaquan in there. Maybe you can make a case for an outside linebacker. Like,
No, he's third.
probably not. He's
Yeah.
probably
At
third.
least
And he might
third.
even be in front of Jaquan.
Yeah,
So
he might be second.
what you need is for him to be like a Pro Bowl type player, if that's if that's where he is coming into the season. And so far, like that was just a perfect game from him. Like, that was pretty incredible.
And that's what the Broncos need from him, because they're going to have either Cody Barton or Jonas Griffith going up next to him, a younger guy with not as much experience. So he's going to have to be a beast, and I absolutely love what I saw. I also loved what I saw from the big men up front. John Franklin Myers did not play today, but Malcolm Roach was a beast. And he's going to eat up blockers, and he is going to eat up ball carriers at or behind the line of scrimmage in the run game, and we saw that. One play, his helmet flies off, and he still dives in there to make a tackle on a running back, and then the very next play, he's in the backfield making for a tackle for a loss on the run defense. I absolutely loved what I saw from him.
Yeah, no. I try not to pay much attention to the trenches on the first time through, because you only catch half of it anyway. And when you wind up going back through with all 22, you can see more. But he made a couple pretty loud plays, which is what you want to see. Where else do we go? I thought the corners with Damari Mathis and Riley Moss, that was interesting. I thought both of them, similar to like Zach Wilson, for example, kind of did what you expected. And Zach Wilson had a good day. I shouldn't say that. But they've done basically what they've done throughout camp, where they both have one good play. You can get pretty excited about that play. Also, maybe could have had interceptions instead of just breaking up those passes. Also, give up a couple catches. Good days for both, but not perfect days. Like, there's still room for growth in there. I thought, it just kind of sums up what they've done in training camp as well.
Yep, 100%. And like you said, both of them could have easily had interceptions as well. Henry, let's look at some position battles and see what we got out of those today. Center, Luke Wattenberg gets the start at center. It's definitely trending in that direction for Luke to be the guy. And I got to give credit to the entire offensive line. 0 sacks today. And this was a group that has been very iffy, to put it nicely, when it comes to pass protection in training camp. This was a group that performed very well, did not give up a single sack. There were still some pressures, and the quarterback's mobility from Jarrett Stidham to Zach Wilson to Bo Nix all helped these guys out, or helped the offensive line out. But for the most part, this offensive line really eased some of my concerns. Not fully with their pass protection, but eased my concerns a lot. And that's one of the things Sean Payton pointed to, was just 0 sacks, how important that is. And that is also credit to Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham for getting the ball out quick, and Zach Wilson as well.
Yeah. No, definitely. Getting the ball out quickly helps. The second offensive line in particular, I think, surprised me. The starting offensive line, they played really well, but they also had the penalties, and you just...
It's true.
It doesn't take much to negate a good play. Because, again, like, if you get called for holding, I'd imagine the odds of you scoring points on that drive are 10%. I think a false start probably gets you down 15%, 20%. Yeah. Like, it's just so hard for an offense to make up for now being in a 1st and 20 or a 2nd and 15 or whatever it may be. Blocking wise, they were good. It's just those couple of penalties. And then those depth offensive lines, they held their own. And I think that they were helped out by the way the quarterbacks played. But yeah, a lot to like there for sure.
I totally agree. A lot to like there, and good outing for Luke Wattenberg to have that start with that first group, and then the entire first group play pretty well. We talked about the cornerback position. Tremon Smith, he's not really in the mix to be one of the starting quarterbacks. It would be more so Levi Wallace, but Tremon Smith was beat deep.
I kind of wonder if he's battling more with Jalen Virgil. Virgil, a guy you get to the practice squad. Exactly. But Tremon may be a guy you have to keep on the 53-man roster if you want him. Both had really good returns today. Both made other plays, or Tremon had a good play in special teams. I'm not sure Virgil did, but he has a history. So I kind of think that might be where that one boils down to. Because it's weird how all these turn out to be kind of cross-positional. Obviously, you have, like, I think Samaje, Nate Adkins, and Michael Burton are kind of competing. We mentioned when they brought in Hunter Kampmoyer that he could kind of be your Nate Adkins replacement if you try to pass him through the practice squad and he doesn't make it. And we saw him lining up at fullback again today, too. So all of a sudden with Burton, Adkins, and Kampmoyer at fullback, it seems that that's certainly what's going on. And you don't know how many spots they're competing for or anything like that. But I think that we've kind of seen how that aspect of that battle at least is structured.
But Mike Burton with
Definitely
a big time block.
And Adkins had moments too.
Yep, and let's talk about the running back position here, Henry, because Javonte Williams, I thought, looked pretty darn good, especially on that carry where Burton has that big block that just blows a defender back. The only thing that defender can do is grab Javonte's face mask. That defender face masked Javonte, and Javonte pushes him off him as well. So Javonte looked good, lighter Javonte, but it still looks like he's that downhill runner that can break tackles.
Yeah, solid day for sure. Just didn't get many opportunities. I'm not ready to say like he's back or anything.
It's fair.
Yeah, that was the long run of the day, 7 yards. Finishes 3.8 yards per carry, and those barely matter in a small sample size. I mean, what was Audric Estime? 3.1.
Yeah,
but like
10 carries.
Yeah, but also, I mean, he has a 2-yard touchdown run that hurts his average. Like, that's a good run. He scored a touchdown, but it hurts his average. You have, like, a 2-yard first down run on a third one. So, like, those average numbers probably don't mean all that much. But I think big picture, Javonte, again, nothing concerning today. I didn't come away any more excited than I was coming into the day, though.
Very fair. That's totally fair. With these running backs, I came out of this game more excited about this group and more excited how Sean Payton is going to use them. Now, in preseason, it's not a one-for-one on how they're going to be used in the regular season, but I actually think this might be a good look at how the Broncos are going to use these running backs. It's going to be where they're using 3 or 4 guys every single game. Because Audric Estime got 10 carries today, and obviously he's not going to lead the team in carries, but he is going to be a bruiser come third down, come fourth down, come short red zone like we saw today on that 2-yard touchdown that you talked about, Henry. He is just a guy that is so hard to tackle. He runs downhill. We also got to see the speed on the outside. He took a toss, I believe, for 8 yards on today. And Jaleel Mclaughilin, he just needs more touches from either the running back spot or as a receiver coming out of the backfield. He is electric. He showed that off today. Averaged from a Broncos running backs perspective, outside of Tyler Beatty, who had 2 runs, he had the best yards per average, 4.3. But Henry, overall, the Broncos only ran the ball for 3.4 yards per carry, yet Sean Payton ran the ball 38 times, and I loved it. 3 touchdowns on the day, 131 rushing yards, 3.4 yards per carry. The Broncos dropped back 41 times to throw the ball, had 38 runs. This is what Sean Payton's going to do when Bo Nix is named the starter, because he says it every single week. What's the best thing to help to help any quarterback? A running game and a strong defense. And despite averaging 3.4 yards per carry, I loved that Sean just stuck with the run.
Yeah, but I mean, you only get to do that because you're up by 2 scores. You get to run the ball over and over and over again and keep grinding the clock. There's just so many more benefits to a 3-yard run when you have a lead versus when you're behind. But yeah, I think that numbers kind of held back. Again, so many goal line runs where it took a couple tries to get in. They had Zach Wilson had that designed run that goes backwards that hurts your average. Some short runs for first down. So the average I don't think is all that. I mean, the number is bad, but I'm not concerned by it. Again, it's just those fumbles where if they fumble like this, you have to say bad day for the running backs. If you have 3 fumbles, I guess Samaje's wasn't a fumble, but you have 2 fumbles and that from your running backs, it's a bad day for your running backs. But there's still obviously a lot to like. Estime did some good things. I felt like he was better falling forward than he was actually getting tacklers off of him. We didn't see the stiff arm play up. Again, it's 10 carries, so who knows? You didn't get to see him work in space in one-on-ones against defenders, which is somewhere where he shines, but you just don't get those opportunities as much in the NFL just because of the speed. People get around so much quicker. Blake Watson, the balance showed up on the catch on the sideline. Tiptoe gets around the defender. The run that almost got the first down before they went for it on the 4th down at the end, brushes one tackler off, drives another back. That's all stuff that shows up on tape. And for a 200-pound running back, it's tough to expect him to be a tackle breaker in the NFL. Even if that's what he was really, really, really good at in college, it's tough to believe it, even though tackle breaking for running backs in college is one of the big numbers that does translate. Like if you break a lot of tackles in college, odds are you're going to break almost just as many tackles in the NFL. It seems like you shouldn't, but it's what happens, and it's good to see that from him. And Tyler Beatty, really good. probably doesn't matter for his chances of making the team, but if that's your sixth guy, it's a good sixth guy to have.
Yeah, I mean, he's making a case for practice squad, at least because I thought he was really good today. That speed off the edge, plus the downfield blocking by the offensive line was incredible on his touchdown run. Absolutely love to see that. More encouraging news for the Broncos offensive line there. Henry, we have some people in the Toyota chat being very down on the defense. And look, I get it when you give up 30 points in a game, but I just want people to take a step back and realize how the starting defense did. The starting defense played about the first quarter. They did not play the entire first half. But at the end of the first half, Henry, the Colts had 10 points. I would take that for the Broncos defense. But in the first quarter, which is really when the Broncos starting defense played, they had 3 drives against them for just over 50 yards. It was 2 punts and a field goal, and the Colts got their field goal after the interception, which Samaje couldn't hold on to, and that turned into the interception. So, I mean, they were given bad field position there, and they were able to only give up 3 points in the first quarter. I thought the starting defense was good. It was really good. I think the depth, there's some questions there because obviously giving up 20 points in the final 3 quarters, not good. We and it seemed like the Colts really had no issue moving the ball down the field, especially they were on their 4th quarterback just in the middle of the second quarter, I think. So that is the depth on the defense as a concern, but I did not come away with this thinking that, oh man, the starting defense is a big issue. And also remember, Jonathan Franklin-Myers, Zach Allen, and Pat Surtain.
And Nick Benito.
Maybe we need to throw Zach Allen in that conversation for being a top 3 defensive player too, and
he's
maybe
right there.
And maybe Jonathan Franklin-Myers is in that conversation as well. So you missed 3 of your key guys on defense, and you still look good. I came away encouraged. Now, do I think they're going to be the top defense of the NFL? I'm not ready to go there yet after today's performance, but just remember that when you're thinking about, man, Broncos gave up 30. Well, their starting defense looked a lot better than that.
Yep. Again, Alex Singleton was the guy who was making all the plays.
Yep.
Like, he's the one who was the reason those drives ended, which is he has the opportunity in this defense to be a really, really good player, especially now that he's in his 2nd year in the system. You just want to see him take it and run with it.
Yep, 100%. And you know how Sean Payton talks about the Joker role all the time on offense? Kind of a guy that he can use in so many different situations and how key that is. I think there's 2 guys that are going to be the Joker, more so called on defensive side of the ball. And that is Alex Singleton, who you're talking about, and Jaquan McMillan. I think those 2 are going to be the guys that Vance Joseph says, I'm going to have a lot of fun with you guys, and we're going to send you on blitzes. We're going to drop you back when they're not expecting it. You're going to play slightly different positions at times just to throw the defense off. And I think Vance loves what Alex Singleton brings in terms of an inside linebacker, but also versatility in the exact same thing with Jaquan.
I mean, we saw it last year. He's lining up as edge rusher half the time. Like those 3rd down packages in the middle of the season, they have Alex rushing the edge. Maybe what he's best at is blitzing, but you just, again, Josie Jewell is a very good player, but if you're playing, say the Commanders, for example, with Austin Eckler in the backfield, if you blitz Singleton, all of a sudden you need Josie one-on-one covering a speedy running back. And that's just not a matchup you want. And so the idea is you bring in a Cody Barton, who that's what he excels at, is covering guys out of the backfield. Jonas Griffith, also very good at that. Had the hiccup today on the deep ball, the tight end up the sideline. But those guys should allow you to blitz Alex more without having the questions about who's going to be covering for him.
Yep.
Again, Josie's a good player, but
right.
He's also the guy that you want in the box.
Yep, and speaking of that position, Cody Barton getting the start today, so don't lose sight of that, where things stand at that other outside linebacker position. I would give the edge to him winning this battle. One other guy that I want to give credit to before we wrap this show up, Henry, and then I'll give you an opportunity to give a couple final shout-outs. Jonah Ellis. He was the reason the Broncos got that interception there, got the pressure on the quarterback, hit him to where it was just an easy pick, and good play. Keandre Smith got that one. Keedron Smith got that one, but that was all Jonah Ellis, and it's great to see Jonah Ellis make plays because I think they could be relying on him big time this year.
Yep. Chris Abrams-Drain had an incredible game.
He did.
The deep coverage, the pick, obviously, on the 2-point conversion. I want to go back. I never saw a replay of that one and see exactly what happened. But again, you probably aren't in love with whoever the Broncos are starting as their second cornerback at the start of the season, whether it's Levi Wallace, Riley Moss, Damari Mathis. Some upside there for sure. Some guys you'd be excited to see on the field. But when you look around the league, there are guys who are more proven, who you know are those guys. It helps to have a fourth option there, and Chris Abrams-Drain is looking like he could be a fourth option, where if everything kind of goes to hell, you can throw him in there, and all of a sudden you've got another young developmental corner.
Yep, 100%. I completely agree. All right, Henry, any other shout-outs you want to give before we wrap this thing up?
I mean, Dondre Tillman. You just saw him just blow that contain on the read option, which is... It's a quarterback / receiver is how they listed him on the field. And that's not the guy you want to be blowing contain on a read option and just letting him run. That's what got him out of the shadow of their own end zone. But then a few plays later, he forces the fumble. Matt Henningsen falls on it. It's a nice little bounce back. After you look at it and you're like, you just can't afford to have that mistake when you're working so hard to make the team, but then bang, just erases it right after.
Love it. It's all about how you bounce back there. Really like that. Really like what the Broncos showed us today. And Henry, thank goodness for an exciting preseason game.
Yeah.
Broncos Country deserved this. 64 points scored. And of course, most importantly, Bo Nix looks like the future, the answer, the guy for the Broncos. I think that Sean Payton should name him the starting quarterback tomorrow or the next time we talk to him. We'll see if that happens. But we've got a very busy week coming up. The Broncos are off these next 2 days, so we'll be back with you guys on Tuesday to continue to break this down after we've been able to watch the film a little bit more, see where position battles stand, talk more about Bo Nix's game after looking back at the tape. Wednesday and Thursday, the Broncos are back at training camp, so we'll be back breaking down those games or those practices right after it happens, right around 2 p.m. or so. And then on Friday, to wrap up training camp, joint practice with the Packers. We'll be breaking it down right after that ends, right around 1:30. If you're new to the show, we got a ton of people tuning in. We do this show 5 to 6 times a week, just depending on when the Broncos are doing things. We're always covering this team. Make sure to subscribe to this channel. Hit us with a thumbs up on your way out. We have tons of people rocking and rolling with us. A thumbs up over on YouTube really helps us out. And as you hear has on the screen, countdown to Broncos versus Seahawks week 1. I love it. You hear 27 days, 22 hours, 40 minutes, and 40 seconds to go. And I think that's going to be Bo leading the way for the Broncos in just over 27 days. You got something, Henry?
22 hours.
22. That's what the countdown has.
Exactly. I don't think that's right.
27 days, 22 hours.
22 hours and 40 minutes. So it's almost 23 hours.
So let's see.
Oh my gosh, Henry's questioning the math. I'm not going to do this.
Questioning the computer.
I'm trying. I'll make sure.
On that note, let's Bo enjoy your Sunday, which has just been made that much sweeter by Bo Nix's performance. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We really appreciate all of the support. We'll be back. Tuesday is going to be a different time because the Broncos have something going on in the afternoon. So Henry and I will be going live 9:45 a.m. on Tuesday. Make sure to stay tuned to thednvr.com for game grades, which are coming out. And, of course, on this show, we'll be going live Tuesday, 9:45 a.m. Thank you. Enjoy your Sunday. Let's Bo.
We all silly like the mayor.